Look, I like this. I mean, if I'm the Giants, I got Jameis, I'm drafting Shedeur. Jameis will be a great mentor, personality-wise, and if Shadeur's not ready, he can play. This stuff about Russ, I mean, look, Aaron Rodgers should obviously be out of the picture. Russ should be, unless they just don't like any of these quarterbacks. Like, if you don't like Shedeur or any of the quarterbacks and you're not drafting one, then sure, if you want to bring in Russ and have a quarterback competition, I'm fine with that. But otherwise, if you want to draft a QB, then Jameis is a great mentor for him.
Well, the problem, the only way to guarantee they can draft a QB is they move up, because there is a chance it goes 1-2, quarterback, that the Jameis's former team, the Browns, take Shedeur. I don't know that they will, but it's certainly on the board possibilities. Here's what I know. Jameis Winston in 2025 cannot be your starting quarterback.
What?
Jameis Winston, since famously being
his last
hurrah. Brew, I made this for you. Since being a, quote, dark horse MVP. No.
Can throw it, though.
No.
Yeah. No. He'll have moments.
Guys.
He'll have moments.
Guys.
But overall,
you cannot.
How are the passing yards per game so low?
Because he didn't start every game. There's certain games he played.
This is funny money.
It's okay.
Because I had him at 300 yards per game.
You got a graphic?
I want to see your graphic.
It was in the graphic. It was just last year, but this is all 3 years. But that's fine.
But if he's playing
Okay, that's fine. Then ignore the yards per game.
Nick does like to finagle.
No, it's every game he played. But again, leave this up. Take out the yards per game. Everything else would be unaffected.
Yeah.
And 61%, 7 yards per pass. Less than 1 touchdown interception ratio, and a passer rating that would rank you dead last or second to last in the NFL.
Yeah, but what about Brian Daboll?
And so, what about Brian Daboll?
Josh Allen.
He had Kevin Stefanski.
He turned Daniel Jones into a.
Okay.
Well,
you cannot. There's a reason he makes $4 million. You cannot go into the year with Jameis Winston as your quarterback.
Right?
Yeah, so I don't think he's a starter.
Yeah, and I like Jameis.
However, he's one of those guys, in my opinion, he's going to always be on a roster. Because he can fill in.
Right.
He can start.
An emergency.
Exactly.
Yes.
You said moments. He definitely has those moments, but we all know it's going to show up. And what it is the turnovers. The Jameis Winston just throwing the ball to the opposing defenders. It's not great. And so, but for the Giants, I like this move. You get a veteran guy who can come in and run your offense if he's asked to do that. If you're rookie, if you draft one, or if Russ doesn't work out, if you go get Russ and you need somebody to step in, he's a good guy to have behind your starting quarterback.
All right. New York Giants fans, I really do want to apologize. For those of you who've never been to New York's actually an awesome city. It's massive. There's so much to do. And honestly, the people are great. I feel like East Coast cities get such a bad rep as being like hard and this or that. And it is. It's definitely can be like that. But it's also just honest and real. You know, it's not, there's a lot of fake nonsense out west. I've had the experience of being on both coasts and whatnot. And, you know, New York, Philly, Boston, like they're just real. It's just real. And there's just no way anyone in New York is excited to have Jameis Winston. And you want to say that Jameis Winston will be a great mentor if you draft Shedeur Sanders. I often forget how people just don't really understand how psychology, mindsets, personalities, etc. work. Like I've talked about many times now, like that's technically my formal educational background is in. Based off of who Shedeur Sanders is and who Jameis Winston is, there is a near 99.9% chance that Shedeur Sanders will just ignore everything that Jameis Winston has to say. That he will not take him seriously at all. Okay? At all. They are fundamentally different personalities with different views on the world, different approaches, different levels of confidence. Like it's just there's just no way that Shedeur is going to be like, oh yeah, James, tell me more. Tell me more. Okay, yeah. Oh, this is what I got to do. Oh, okay, great. And he's going to be on the sidelines watching Jameis Winston going through his drills, and he's going to be watching him and see how he puts in the work, or when he studies film, and when Jameis Winston says, hey, man, this is what we need to do. You need to look for this in defenses. And Shador's going to be like, oh, that's a great tip. Thanks, bud. Come on, man. What are we talking about here? Just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So you do not tell me that Jameis Winston will be a great mentor. He could be a great mentor depending on which quarterback you draft. There could be quarterbacks in the draft that he could be a great mentor to. I believe that. But not to a Shador Sanders, no. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. So if you're so then again, the question is like, what are you doing at quarterback position then if you're the New York Giants? And at this point, if you're going to draft a quarterback and you're not going to start him, this quarterback who you draft, depending on who it is, why even have Jameis Winston? Because he can still probably win you some games. Like at this point, like, I don't know. Like at this point, then just continue this train, man. Just keep continuing to be as bad as you can. Have another year where you draft first overall. I don't know. Like, seriously. Because Jameis Winston, the only thing he's going to be able to do is he'll probably pull off a random win against the Commanders and the Eagles and mess up your draft order. That's what he'll do. He'll end up having this crazy comeback win against the Philadelphia Eagles, which will be great. You're the New York Giants. You're like, yeah, we beat Philly. And now we hurt our draft order. Great. You're not going to win. You really think you're going to make a playoff run with Jameis Winston? No. All right. And if you're like, well, hey, he's not going to start. He's going to be our backup, but he's going to be still a great mentor. To who? If you believe that you're going to try to get Shador Sanders, because that seems to be like what the New York Giants potentially want, I do not believe that Jameis Winston is the type of mentor. I'm willing to learn from virtually anyone. But I'm also very much in touch with the type of person who resonates with me more. And I will resonate with various personalities. And so you have to understand what personalities are complementary to others. It's just like dating, guys. We all know this. It's not just a matter of age and experience. You have to have complementary relationships. That's why you can't just date anyone you want. It's not the way it works. It's the same thing why some coaches work and others don't. Why some coaches work for certain cultures, for certain teams, for certain sports, but not all. So you can't just get Jameis Winston and just think that, oh yeah, this blanket, he can win some games. He can also be a mentor. You have to understand the path that you're taking. What is the objective? What is the goal? What are you trying to accomplish? Because if that's not clear, then you're kind of just running around trying to cross the street with your eyes closed in the pitch black. And to like show these numbers like it even matters. I mean, I don't know. I would love to know what New York Giants fans want from their team at this point. Because, I mean, I talked about this a lot from the Cowboys' perspective. Because you see the Eagles go to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. They win 1, obviously. Over the last 8, they've won 2 Super Bowls. You saw the Commanders be a joke for an obnoxious amount of time. They draft Jaden Daniels and overnight go to the NFC Championship game. Leapfrogging the Cowboys and the Giants. What do you want? You saw them move on from Saquon Barkley. He goes on and sets the record for most rushing yards in a single season. Wins a Super Bowl. You know the story, obviously. And like now the play is like, oh, we got Jameis Winston, and maybe we'll draft Shador Sanders. And it's like, that's the big play. I just don't see it. I really don't. And I'm not so sure that you should even want Shedeur Sanders if you're a New York Giants fan, if you're the New York Giants organization. It's not clear to me that a Shedeur Sanders will thrive in New York City. That's what my gut tells me. I went against my gut last offseason, and my gut ended up being right, and I got moved. And so then my take ended up being wrong, and I'm still frustrated by that. My gut right now is telling me that Shedeur Sanders will have a rough transition to the NFL. Doesn't mean that he's going to be bad. Doesn't mean that he's going to fail. Doesn't mean that he won't have success. But I feel that it could be really rocky, and I think it could go bad quickly. I really do. I really, really do. I think there's some incompatible personalities there. And now you bring that into New York City, which any New Yorker knows. That is the place to be, man. That is the place to be. And if you don't have your act together, the best thing that he has going for him is that it is his father, because at least his father will be able to be like, boy, you better get your act together. If anything ever does kind of start to get a little squirrely, which some of these other guys, some of these other quarterbacks or other players or big personalities didn't necessarily always have. To me, that's probably the biggest saving grace that a Shedeur Sanders actually has. Because any of these other, again, just question mark type players with big personalities, they are most likely the biggest part of their family. And that's not Shedeur, right? Coach Prime is Coach Prime. It's Shedeur Sanders, not Deion Sanders. So that is probably his saving point. But yeah, I'm just I don't know. I feel as though if I was born and raised New York fan, Giants are my team, and the last couple of years have unfolded how they unfolded. We've been doing this whole Daniel Jones nonsense. We had Saquon Barkley. He was great. And then we got him banged up. Couldn't build any great offense. We got rid of him. He then goes on and wins a Super Bowl with my division rival. Absolutely balls out. And then the other team that we at least could kind of beat up on, they drafted Jaden Daniels. Went on to have an historic year. Went to the NFC Championship game, and now we signed Jameis Winston. And now we're going to hope that maybe we can draft Shedeur Sanders, and that's going to make us great again. I'm not seeing where there's room for that optimism, or where there should be belief in that path. I don't see it personally. And again, Jameis Winston, at the minimum in terms of the amount of harm that he can cause you, is that he can win you too many games. If he ends up being your actual starter, you're obviously not going to go on a run. You're obviously not going to be competitive and like, hey, well, at least we can make the playoffs and it could be a fun year. No. And you'll win one too many games, especially with a good coach, who I think Brian Daboll is a good coach. You'll win one too many games. And so you can have a fun Sunday. You'll have a fun Sunday for sure, which is cool. But it's like, I don't know, man. Just, I don't know. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the New York Giants? What do you think the plan is for them at this point? I mean, it even says Jameis Winston, 2-year, $8 million deal with Giants. But then it also says Russ reportedly still in play for New York. So it's like, what are they going to get? Both those quarterbacks and draft Shedeur? Like, it just feels like a team that has no real direction. Doesn't make sense. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.